Right, let's analyze To a Dark Girl by Gwendolyn Bennett. We'll begin our analysis by way of observation, just simply noting what is on the page. First thing, just counting the stanzas. We see here that we have 3 stanzas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 4, 6, 7, 2, 4, 6, 7, 2, 4, 6, 7. So the stanzas have 7 lines each. We can notice the indentation of the lines as well. Another thing that we can notice is the rhyme scheme in this particular poem. So we have breast and rest that rhyme. So there's some end rhyme going on there. We have walk and talk that rhyme. And we have mate and fate that rhyme. And we can see that the rhyme occurs in different places throughout the poem. We also can observe that there are lots of B sounds in this poem. Just seeing that, at least in that first stanza, several words there are starting with the sound B, browned, or actually BR. There, we can see that. We also can see that there's some S sounds going on. And let's use a different color in that second stanza. Okay. All right, so let's look for repetition. You can notice repetition in the first stanza of the speaker of the poem saying, I love you, opening with that. And now we'll dive into the first stanza. All right, I love you for your brownness. So here we have a mention of color, whereas in the title we have a mention of a shade. So this is important in the historical context of things like the paper bag test, colorism, and how basically being dark-skinned, being black was not something that people were proud of or taught to be proud of due to white supremacy at that time. We still see issues of colorism today in society. So for the speaker of this poem to open boldly by declaring that the speaker loves something that society has trained and taught black people to hate, it is a response into that. It's a pushback into that. I also would say that this I love you for your brownness is a foreshadow or precursor of the Black is Beautiful mantra that was very prominent in the 1960s. All right, so here, going back to the first stanza, there is a love for the physical beauty, but there's also the emotional side that we see in the second part of that first stanza. Now when we get to the second stanza, we have a reference to queens. So this dark girl is being likened to queens, but also shackled slaves. So the queens is speaking to the heritage, going back to Africa. This word here, lithe, denotes graceful, slender. So here we're seeing things of beauty in relation to the dark girl. And then we have shackled slave, so referencing to the past in the U.S. So what type of tone do you think she's using when she's talking about the past when she talks about a shackled slave, and she being the speaker of the poem, not necessarily the poet. And sobs in the rhythm of your talk. What do you think she means by your talk? And what could be causing the sobs? So, an obvious answer, one would say, well, it's slave, it's shackled slave. But you think about what was going on in that time period and why a dark girl may be sighing. Also, the use of the word girl denotes youth here. And we see that here with little brown girl. So now we're getting somewhat of an indication of age, but yet sorrow's mate. So again, this is almost speaking to the life trajectory of Black folk at this time is one of sadness. However, the speaker is saying to the Black girl about keeping all of her queenness. So again, we're seeing a reference to queen here. I think that queen also speaks to racial pride and lifting Black women. And possibly forgetting that you were once a slave. So this forgetting of the past, we see here, and let your full lips laugh at fate. So, interesting poem to think through about what does it mean. A poem that directly addresses to a dark girl. One thing to note is that although this poem is addressing a singular Black girl, more than likely this is a poem that is speaking to a collective of Black girls. So not necessarily, it's speaking to the individual and the collective at the same time. So I hope this analysis helped you unpack some potential meanings of the poem.